Hey, uh, Agnes. I am me, therefore I am enough.
Perfect. We are live, just so you know. Hi, everybody. It's Michael Pierce with the Webmasters Posse. I'm going to click the focus back on me for a few seconds. Welcome to the Ancient Wisdom Wednesday, first session for February. Thank you all for showing up. And today, I'm going to be your guest speaker, so I'm not going to get started right away. But I want to share with a little bit why I ended up the guest speaker today and why I'm going to be taking a slightly different direction than you used to. On Monday, I was talking with Lori, and she had asked some questions about how to deal with A-type personalities, and she's working on a program to help them reduce stress because it turns out a lot of A-types have issues with stress and de-stressing and need to take better health care. So she asked me about the statistics for heart health, knowing that that was my field of expertise. And in the process, she was shocked and surprised by what I told her and what I knew about it. And it was at that moment I realized that I had the topic that I needed for today, because originally I planned for Phyllis to be our guest speaker, but she's begged off to the 25th because of her actual work schedule. So I just flipped it around and slid myself in here today and pushed Phyllis's visit with us out to the 25th, which works for her schedule. So just so everybody knows, a week from today, Peter Boyster is going to be our guest speaker, and he's going to open up the meeting with a talk about things you want to have on your website that bring business back to your website and how to use your website as the focal point of your online business. So we're going to let him talk about his field of expertise, which is theme design and blog layout, and then we're going to ask him questions about that and see if we can learn something from an expert in that field. 2 weeks from today, we have the wonderful Beth Hewitt from the Simply Blogging Challenge coming, and Beth won't be talking about her blogging challenge, but she will be sharing with us about her new passion for using creative visualization to build your life and create money and abundance in your life. So we're all partly online because we want to build retirement income and residual income and all those sort of things. So I thought it would be really cool to have somebody that's an expert in our space talk about something that might help each and every one of us bring some more money and abundance into our work life and our personal life. Because let's face it, the more money you have, the more people you can help, and the louder you can sing your message, because you can afford to advertise it, you can afford wonderful technology, and to get out there and to share your message. So to that end, I'm going to start with some heart health facts. And I don't know how it is in the States exactly, but the last time I checked, the third leading cause of death in the United States was heart health issues. So that includes heart health, stroke, and funny enough, diabetes is lumped in there. Now that may not make sense to everybody up front, but when you know what I know and have learned what I learned, it makes perfect sense. Long story short is diabetics are 80% likely to die of a heart attack or stroke. So that's why they end up in the heart health category and not some other category of illness. But wow. So in Canada, today the statistics are, in Canada it's the second leading cause of death, so we're a little bit more likely to die of a heart attack than people in the United States, but only by 2%. So it's 28% in Canada and 26% in the States. When I checked the statistics in 2012 when I was creating Michael's Health Answers, the #1 cause of death in both countries right now is all forms of cancer put together, and that's the only illness that exceeds heart disease. The third leading cause in Canada and the second leading cause in the States is actually medical malpractice or misadventure or misprescription. So brings a question up for me. The statistics for heart health recovery are, for men, the average age is 47. That's when most men could have a heart attack, or the most likely year a man will have a heart attack. I always thought it was an older person's disease, people in their 60s, because both my grandfathers died in their 60s of heart attacks. But it turns out the average age is 47, and it can happen even younger, 40 for one of my first cousins. And I know there's people in their teen and even young adults, or pre-adults, that do die from heart health issues. But the average age for a man is 47, and the average age for a woman is 61, which is where you might get confused with for older people. But not only do women's heart attacks present differently from men, their heart health issues are a lot different from men. So for today's discussion, I'm going to focus on the basics of heart health, the statistics, and the facts. So the fact is, if you've had a heart attack, man or woman, you have a 50% chance of living 5 years. That's where the whole misadventure, misprescription, and medical malpractice come into effect. Think about this. If you went to the automotive shop at your dealership and there was a sign on the back wall that said, 50 to 60% of the vehicles serviced here will be on the road in 5 years, would you go back to that automotive shop to take your car in for a repair or tune-up or get work done? Yeah, I couldn't. So that's the prognosis in today's medical system. If you are not your own advocate, if you just follow the regular routine, the regular suggestions, 50% of the people will not live 5 years. Part of the reason why I've taken time coming out about this and getting firmly and passionate about this is I wanted to make sure I'd lived some time before I started screaming I had the answer. Does that make sense? But I've just celebrated my 3rd year anniversary, so I've knocked off 3 of those 5 years, and not only am I in good physical health, I am in absolutely the best physical health ever in my entire life, including my childhood. So I don't know how many 49-year-olds could say that, but there's nobody else I know that's had a heart attack that can say that at my age. Now here's the scary facts. So 40% of men die at their heart attack if they have their heart attack at age 47. That's if they have it outside a hospital. The odds go up dramatically if you're inside a medical facility while you have your heart attack, because most men are stupid, stubborn, A-working types. We didn't go the first time we had chest pain, and because of that our chances of dying go up. So the first lesson is, if you have any chest pain, man or woman, any repetitive pain that happens twice in a 24-hour period, immediately go out and seek medical attention. Don't drive yourself. I got in trouble for that one once. Have somebody drive you to the hospital. Have them put you on a heart monitor. It is worth the hour out of your life maybe to save it. Because if you have that heart attack in the hospital, your chances of surviving go up by over 70%. Big difference, huh? It's because of the clot busters and the things they can do to alleviate the potential long-term damage on your heart muscle. And that was part of my heart health answer, and I'll get to that as I share the rest of the story. But statistically, women that have their heart attack at age 61 outside a hospital, 80% do not make it through the first experience. So if you have a wife or a mom or a sister, or you yourself are a woman in your 50s or 60s and you have a chest pain, it is much more important as a woman that you get these things checked out than a man, because you are twice as likely to pass for ignoring it. You're also twice as likely to ignore it because women tend to take on the mother role, and the last person the mother takes care of usually is herself. But the same old stories like the stewardess in the airline, when they're telling you to put the oxygen mask on, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself first so you can help that child or that other person. So the same thing comes in with chest pain. I actually had 3 heart attacks in 24 hours because I'm a stubborn A-type, and I couldn't possibly believe at 47 that I was having a heart attack. 3 times in 24 hours. I'm lucky that I'm stupid, stubborn, and have a strong heart and was cardio protected, because, wow, I should never have made it. I'm actually, part of the reason I talk about this now is statistically, I should not have been the guy to live. I smoked cigarettes every day for 25 years. I drank daily for 10, almost 15 years, because that was what guys in the restaurant business did when they got off work at 11 o'clock at night. I had a beer before I left the restaurant. I had at least one when I got home. That was every day, 5 days a week. It turns out if you have a beer with lunch, a beer with dinner, and a beer after work, that's a lot of calories. It can be 1,000 calories, and if you're trying to eat 2,000 a day and you're drinking 1,000, it doesn't add up and it doesn't work. So getting back to that scary statistic, men and women that only do what the medical system prescribes all have the same 50% chance of surviving 5 years. So I'm here to say you got to educate yourself. You've got to do every single thing possible to beat those odds, because just like you shouldn't take your car back to a mechanic shop where only half of them are going to be on the road in 5 years, you can't just rely on what your doctor knows, because they're educated by a system that ignores how food and how the body naturally works. The medical system is completely about prescriptions and artificially forcing a change on your body, whether it's good for your body or not. During my heart health recovery process, part of my journey was to get off all my prescriptions, because when I had my stints put in after my airlift to Victoria, which is 300 kilometers away, when I walked out of the hospital 1 week later, I was on 7 pills a day and a liquid injection of a blood thinner. I got off the blood thinner in 5 days. The injections, because my blood was thinned to 3 times normal. So one of the things they do to help you avoid a heart attack is they thin out your blood to lower the blood pressure and lower the possibility of it clogging back up in the narrow points inside your heart. So they thinned my blood out to 3 times what it should have been, and that went on for 5 months. Because of the regimen of supplements I was taking, and because of the exercise routine I had taken up after the heart attack, I was able at 5 months after my surgery to go off the blood thinners. So that was really cool. First of all, my energy level went up and I stopped bruising every time I lifted or carried something. So I come home from working doing my delivery job, my arms and my chest and my belly would be all bruised up, and the wife would say, "What's that?" I said, "I got punched at work today by a bundle." So if you know any old folks on blood thinners, you understand how fast they bruise, and I was so happy to get off the blood thinners. It turns out taking a poison is not good for your long-term health. So again, by being my own advocate and doing everything on the planet possible, doing my research, spending money on the best supplements and the best products for the job, in 5 months I was able to get off the blood thinners. Over the 3-year period I've talked about these things, I've gone down now to 2 pills at the minimum prescribable dose. So I take 2 tablets in the morning and 1 tablet at night. The double tablet, the morning and night, is to keep my blood from coagulating. It's a beta blocker. It stops the coagulation process so that I don't block off my stents and erode all the great work I did in the hospital. So these drug-eluting stents are supposed to be good for 14 or 15 years, as long as I keep up on my beta blocker and do everything that I've been told. So that's all good news. But it's about doing everything the doctor suggested I did, because I did all the pills, I did all the exercise, I lost the weight. I'd already lost 60 pounds before the heart attack, and I lost the 60 since the heart attack. So that's 120 pounds over 6 years. It's not a big amount, only 2 pounds a month. But in my experience, if you take it off fast, it comes back faster. I'd had that experience. I didn't want to do it again. So I'm hoping that with these facts and these tips, that it's going to bring to your attention anybody in your life that has stroke issues, heart issues, anybody that has high blood pressure, high cholesterol, can benefit from the health regimen that I'm going to be recommending. I've been working on this particular program now for 6 or 7 months, and I'm finally ready to start talking about it, start sharing how it all works. I've got it all organized. I've got 10 videos in the can, which are heart health tips for anybody that wants to start this program, and I'm going to start talking more and more to people, because now that I have a place to talk from, I'm ready to go back to business and start focusing on that important heart health message. With 28% of the people you know potentially dying from a heart health issue, every year as we age, heart health becomes a larger and bigger issue. So preventative is the answer. Had I waited till I had my heart attack to start my healthy eating and healthy lifestyle regimen, I would not be here preaching about my success. I might not even be here. The doctor made it very clear to me, had I still been a cigarette smoker, and here's a lesson: if you have anybody in your life that still smokes cigarettes that you value, please share what my cardiologist shared with me the day after he put the stents in. He says, "Michael, you remember when I was talking to you about those 3 questions before we went in for surgery, and I asked you if you smoke cigarettes, and you said no?" I said, "Yeah, I haven't smoked for like 11 years. said that was the most important question you've ever answered in your life. If you'd said yes, you were a smoker, I would have taken you in the hospital ward, I would have cracked your chest, you would have had a 13-inch incision, and it would have hurt every time you coughed for the rest of your life. Says part of the reason why I've come to explain this to you today is you're a young, healthy guy relatively compared to most of the patients I see, and I never get to have this conversation with somebody till after I've broken their chest. So if you have friends that smoke, tell them from me they better quit today or they won't like it when I have this conversation with them. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to let you guys ask questions because I find it's in the questions that the real information gets shared and people get their answer. Part of the reason I've waited to share this till this format is without people to interact to and with, it's not all going to come out and people aren't going to learn what they need to know. So please feel free to ask questions and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability, and if I can't answer them today, I will get in touch with you later with the right information. So thank you all for listening.
The issue I have, Michael,
Yeah.
If anybody on the planet doesn't know now that smoking is bad for you, then they've lived under a rock.
I know, but we are by nature.
So the issue is that's not my issue. My issue is I agree 100% with the statistic and what the cardiologist said, etc., etc. But it feels to me, because I have two daughters that smoke.
Okay.
And I have not been successful. And then I have one granddaughter that smokes and two grandchildren that smoke. Unfortunately, my great-grandchild is only 2, so she hasn't bothered yet. But she's probably getting second-hand smoke from her mother.
Yep.
So, you know, it always seems to me that, you know, that's a how do you motivate the unmotivated question.
Well, it is, and that's why I'm here.
So, do you have any tips with regard to motivating the unmotivated? I mean, is that what you're focusing your education on? I mean, I'm at a loss because I'd love for them all to stop. You know, they say they're good at stopping because they've done it so often.
In my experience, every smoker will come to a point in their life where they hate it. Part of the way that happened for me is my youngest daughter, and there's going to be an irony I can explain to you about this in a minute. From the time she was 6 or 7 years old to the time she was 12, she bugged me every single time she saw me about my smoking habit. Now, other people in my family didn't mention it. My wife had already quit smoking over a year before, and she'd smoked longer than I had, so everybody knew it could happen. But every day when I came home from work, and every day when my daughter saw me light up, she'd ask me why I had to smoke. And sooner or later, that drip, 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 it wasn't you shouldn't smoke, it was why do you have to smoke, started to nag at me, and I started to really look at what I was doing and what it was getting me. And it wasn't just that, but that one person regularly just picking away at it really helped me get disgusted with the whole process. So if you value these people's health, you must find a way to bring it to their attention on a regular basis without offending them to the point they don't listen to you, and that's the only recommendation I can have. The personal irony for me is the person I'm talking about is my 23-year-old daughter Bianca, who smokes a pack a day today.
I think oftentimes you'll find that it is almost generational. So if a child, did you smoke, Peter, when you were younger?
Never smoked one cigarette in my whole life on my 16th birthday, just because I was allowed to, and you know, it prevented me from watching a football match, so it wasn't worth it to me.
Yeah. But just often you'll find it does perpetuate itself within families. So if parents smoke, the children will smoke, and so on and so on. So, yeah, and sometimes
I mean,
you have to play dirty sometimes, and talk about the health of your great-granddaughter, because obviously nobody wants to listen to dad or to grandpa because you're old and don't know what you're talking about. But when it comes to the health of your child, as in the baby now, the 2-year, whatever your granddaughter is, people, that starts to hit home for people, I think.
I have been stunningly unsuccessful in the whole stop smoking campaign that I go in every so often, and whenever they say they're quitting, I do everything I can to support them and be that positive influence in their life. Well, somebody just typed they're addicted. They're addicted to a chemical change that's happened in their body.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing in the world to quit. Some people say it's harder than heroin.
Yeah, since I've never
it's
done
really
that
available and easy to afford.
So Robin says addiction is disastrously difficult to overcome. People forget it is not just mental, it's physical as well, and that needs to be addressed as well. So I don't know. I mean, people try the patch. What are those electronic things they're doing now? I don't even know what those are. E-cigarettes or something.
Yeah, that's what my
it turns out the
e-cigarette
may not be the answer. There's hundreds of chemicals in the e-cigarette, and they may in turn out have more carcinogens and toxins present in them than the cigarettes they're trying to avoid. So it's pick your poison and be an advocate for the best possible natural resource. So there are things you can take. There's an amino acid you can take that helps with withdrawal. I think it's L-glutamate. I'll check my records, but it can help with the withdrawal process. Personally, I took a product called Zyban. It's no longer available because it caused people that had mental health issues to go off the deep end. But it worked really good for me, partly because it had a natural amphetamine in it, so it took away from the anger and stress of quitting. But the amphetamine also didn't help people that had psychosis issues. It tended to trigger episodes, so they had to take it off the market. If the trouble is when you use a chemical to muck with the human body's natural things, you don't always know what it's interconnected to. That's why I recommend that people get off prescriptions as fast as they possibly can. I started out on 8. The prognosis was 4 of them for the rest of my life. I'm down to 2, and in 3 months I'm going to go through a series of tests. If those tests are what I think they're going to be, I will be down to 1 pill twice a day for the rest of my life, and that will be it. I'm the only person I know in this situation that's been through the heart health issues and had the surgery I had, and that's part of the reason why I'm trying to focus and refocus on it, because any other course of action will not receive the results or benefits I've had. And one of the things smokers, if they're committed to smoking, could know and benefit from, Robin could back me up on this, we like to say in our training that if you're going to smoke your cigarettes and you're truly committed to keeping smoking, you have to take 2 packs of Immunical every day. 1 for your overall health and 1 to overcome the damage you're doing to your body from your cigarettes.
I tend to be a little subversive too, and I must admit I'd be using that grandchild. And they just learn so subtly. So to have it be stinky cigarettes or like just little adjectives here and there that they pick up on.
Yeah.
Negative reinforcement of the habit in front of them will help them from acquiring it, even if you can't help the people that already have it. And you're constantly picking at it gently and quietly. Even if they don't consciously recognize it, they're going to hear it around them, and it's going to reinforce their choice to change.
But I think, too, if you have your 4-year-old come to you and go, no kisses, Mommy, you're stinky like cigarettes, that really hits home for a parent.
And that did for me. That was the thing. My daughter coming to me starting at 6 years old and saying, "Yeah, yicky." It's like kissing an ashtray is what they've been taught to say. I'm
Yeah,
not going to
well,
kiss an ashtray.
yeah,
It hurt, but it did work.
yeah.
And here's the unfortunate truth. People are more invested in avoiding pain than they are in receiving a benefit. So part of the reason why I talk about the cracking the chest and the going through open heart surgery is hopefully the person will be scared enough about the potential pain that they're going to take the action to avoid that potential pain. If I say you're going to lose some weight, have a little bit more energy, feel a little bit better every day, there's no scary there. And without scary, human beings just don't seem to act.
I think too, though, that that's the stuff that always happens to someone else. Like it never happens to you. It never happens to me. It's always someone else. So
Right.
Chris has put in a comment here. Chris, feel free to unmute yourself for the discussion. But Chris said she's tried everything to quit. So I take it Chris is a smoker. Did it once for 9 months and I was miserable every day of my life. I've done patches, e-cig, gum. So yeah, it's a tough call.
I mean, what Chris is describing is you know, how I view my daughter and granddaughter. Chris is probably young enough to be my daughter as well, but it's like they're professional quitters. They'll invest in patches, they'll invest in gum, they'll invest in those e-cigarettes is the latest craze. And then I read a similar thing to what Michael was saying about, you know, hell's bells, those e-cigarettes seem more dangerous than this thing that they're trying to cure.
The cure is worse than the curse.
It's like I'm going to start taking heroin to quit my pot addiction, right? I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, if you, Michael, are dripping health, and if your drip contains, you know, little subtle tips, you know, materials that you can get, and it somehow as a parent, since they are addicted to it, I sort of almost feel like I've got to be addicted to the anti-message. If they're getting the physical pleasure with what they view as being pleasure from the so-called calming of the nerves, you know, that maybe one of the ways to help them is to, you know, become addicted to the anti-message and drip the anti-message on them. I don't know, but all told, it's their responsibility.
Yeah, and don't overdo it. I found that when it happened once a day or twice a day, I could tolerate it, but any more than that, it became offensive, and it actually pushed me away from the positive result, if that makes sense. I mean, it has to be slow and steady, if that makes in the background. It can't be all the time, every day, otherwise sooner the person's going to stop coming around you, and you'll lose the influence.
Yeah. I don't have the energy to do that. It'd have to be, you know, once a week.
Whatever works will help.
I think suddenly, speaking to it from a woman's point of view as well, is you see some of the visuals of the not so much older women who are sitting on their walkers with the oxygen tank beside them, you know, and they're puffing, or the people with the trachs, stuff like that. I mean, you know, that to look at yourself ending up looking like that, like looking like you're 80 when you're only 55, and because of the results of
Right.
smoking and what happens to your skin, like all that sort of stuff. You know, sometimes you almost have to, as I say, you hit below the belt, but for vanity alone can sometimes be a way to affect a woman. I don't know if it works for men. Robin says it was the hardest thing she ever did in her life. Hypnosis finally did it for Robin.
I've also heard very good results from acupressure. I had a young girl that used to practice that in my downline a couple of years ago. She's since moved to Alberta and is off doing her own thing, but she's had very good results with acupuncture, and that actually worked for my mother-in-law. She'd been a pack-a-day smoker for like 40 years, and that was finally what got her off, was an acupuncture treatment. You just have to get them trying different things. I mean, maybe once a year they could try something different till it happens. I actually tried 5 different things in 4 years after a concerted decision. I wanted to quit smoking because I'm, how can I say it? I'm very excessive compulsive. When I do something good or bad, I do it very, very well. There's nothing halfway with me. If I'm going to smoke, I'll smoke a pack a day. If I'm going to drink, I'm going to drink a case of beer. If I'm going to eat, I'm going to eat till I'm full. If I'm going to, you know, and that can be a problem. Anything extreme isn't good for you.
Actually, I think you just hit a key word there.
What was that?
You said after the decision. I mean, I guess I need to talk to them about, you know, whatever it is, you need to lead the horse to the water so that they make the decision, and then do what you can to support that decision, as opposed to, I mean, I'm at my wit's end. I don't have any answers.
Well, you're on something there, Peter. Once they ask for your help, then you can pick at them every day, and that might be what they need. So maybe if you offered to support them on a daily basis for their first 30 days by a phone call or whatever, just to, you know, sometimes they just need somebody there as their anchor, as their reach out, and it's like the person in the alcohol program. You have a sponsor. So you could maybe offer each one individually when you have the opportunity to give them that for the short period of time they need, because it's only 3 weeks, 4 weeks, and you're through the worst of it.
I mean, but the key is, you know, after the decision, I have to get them in that conversation that gets them to make that positive decision.
It has to be their decision first.
Yeah, yes.
They have to consciously choose. Yeah. As long as it's a want or a should, we know how that works.
I think what you need to do is sit your granddaughter down and say, we need to have a legal talk. And I need to know exactly what your wishes are. Should you die from this habit of yours, who do you want to take care of the granddaughter, and how do you want her raised? And don't let her off the hook.
That's another good way in. You know, what are your legal wishes?
Because you're not nagging at her. You're just saying we gotta be prepared for this little child who's still too young to make decisions.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we might outlive you, and that worries me. So we really need to know.
I like that. Appeals to me, but you know, for a lot of reasons.
I'm a mom. I know all the sneaky backhanded ways to get at people.
And here's the wonderful part about this group. We all bring a different experience to the table, and it's collectively from all the people present where you get the new ideas, because each of us individually can only work with what we know. Well, obviously it hasn't solved the problem yet.
The funny thing is, Michael, that I can just as easily substitute ignorance with regard to money issues for cigarettes, and it's the same conversation.
It is. if you approach it that way. So you need to start your drip email with your family about quitting smoking.
Well, I think, too, anybody that complains about financial issues and has any vices, whether it's smoking or drinking or gambling or anything, it's like, you know, talk to the hand because the face ain't listening. If you can afford a vice, then you can afford to pay your bills. Like, you pay your bills, you take care of life first, and then you feed your vice. You know, so I've never tolerated any discussion about being broke. I mean, it was the barometer I always used for my kids after I was divorced. I said, as long as there's wine in the cupboard, you know I'm okay. The day I quit buying myself a bottle of wine on the weekend, you know we might be in trouble financially. And then, of course, because they were young enough, it became imperative that each weekend I would buy a bottle of wine, just so they would never, ever worry.
Oh. So it really was self-serving in the end. I like that.
Yeah. I'm gullible, but there's some things I just can't believe. But just another, the thing that my mother and father both to quit was they put the money that they were spending on cigarettes into a bowl for a month. It only took him a month, and then they counted it at the end of the month and realized that they were depriving themselves of the vacation that was so important to them. So finances is another way of trying to address what did Agnes say? You know, it's guerrilla tactics.
But that's what it takes.
Coming in, smacking them around the head. Yeah, exactly.
I think, too, even, you know, like if you've got the finances to afford it, is to make them a wager. I mean, is there something they want that's within reason? I don't mean a new house or a new car, but
I've done that.
Quit and stay quit for 6 months.
Yeah, I've done that. I mean, apart from none of them have done hypnosis yet, and none of them have done acupuncture yet.
Acupuncture worked for my brother as well, who'd smoked for 40 years.
You know, I'm back. Their cop out is always exactly the sentence that was on the chat here. You know, you don't know how hard it is because it's physical, and I just haven't got the strength. My body's. I throw up because I'm not doing it. Oh God, I've heard them all.
It sounds like you've already worked on this.
You don't. Well, I'm old enough to, you know. My oldest daughter is just about getting into this 47. She's 45 this year. So no, it's the arguing isn't the right word. I mean, the issue is, again, get them and use guerrilla tactics to get them to make the decision. But anything that you know can be dripped on them, because you know, every day, maybe even once a week, you know, it's got to be more or less simulated randomness. Hey, I saw this the other day. Why don't you read it?
Well, I know I'm sensitive enough to cigarette smoke. I'm sensitive enough that if a friend, or I don't think I have any family members that smoke, but if a friend were to come over, I can't stay in the same room. And so it's like, well, thanks for visiting, but I'm out of here. Like, I cannot
Yeah.
stand the smell. And I do. I literally get a headache, and within about 15 minutes, I will be vomiting. And
Ooh.
it's, yeah, it's
I
it's
like
tough
that
love.
idea.
Oh, can you vomit on cue too?
They're smart enough. Yeah, well, they're smart enough to go outside of the house, but I'll have to find a way of vomiting on them when I go through the garage or something. Let them have the dry cleaning bill as well.
At least they go outside. That's the first step, is making it uncomfortable. I also don't let people smoke in the car when I'm in the car. It's like, no.
Well, apparently
Nobody does.
resale on houses that have had smokers in them. Cigarette smoke that gets into the walls, into the furniture, into everything. It is the number one reason that, that if people will come up with a reason for not buying a house, smoking, I can't remember what percentage of sales it turns off.
But it's a measurable amount, and they've got a statistic
it is.
for it. That's not good news.
Yeah.
That's the same thing with a used car. They'll spend a whole day detailing it to get rid of the cigarette smell, but it only goes away for about 10 days, and then it comes back, because unless you actually take the seats and the carpet out and beat them and get all the ash out of it, the smell's not gone. It's just soaked into the matting underneath and will rise back up as it all dries out.
I mean, we seem to be preaching to the choir here.
Yeah, I know. But that's okay. Sometimes it's that reinforcement.
It doesn't worry me that they're the statistics are out, and it's like Hillary Clinton said yesterday: vaccinate. There is no question to the science. Vaccinate your damn children against measles. Cigarettes have been contributing to the deaths on the planet in significant ways. Probably the only reason China doesn't, only has 17 billion people. They'd probably have twice as many if they could ever stop smoking.
Well, it is in some ways natural selection at work, and the only reason it's there is they're trying to cull the mass population and get down on the numbers. I mean, why else would they allow a company that goes out and poisons all of its clients? It's almost like the McDonald's and the cigarette companies have gotten together and gotten it figured out. Canola, deep fried, is a horrible, horrible, huge health issue. It's another one of the things that I changed in my health regimen. People have no idea, but the cheaper the oil, the more saturated fats and polysaturated fats and all the more chemicals in that suspension. And when you deep fry them, it changes their consistency. And a lot of people's bodies, the reason that belly fat is so prevalent in our society, and this is something that's not widely known, but there's a free radical present in fountain pop. There's a equal and balancing free radical present in deep fried potatoes. So when you go to a fast food restaurant and you are eating deep fried potatoes and they serve you up a fountain pop, those two molecules get together and they cancel each other out. But what happens is they are now a not water soluble contaminant present in your body. Your body's defense to that is to surround that free radical little molecule combination thing with fat and store it around your belly so that the chemical reaction present doesn't poison you. Wow. I think a lot of people don't know that. If that was advertised at McDonald's on the wall, this is what's going on inside your body when you come in here with your kids and feed them. Right?
Right.
But you have to be that blatant, forward, and abrupt with people if you want to get their attention. Make sure you're right, but I heard this from a practicing pharmacist, and he was absolutely sure that there was conclusive evidence to prove it. He didn't know the exact names of the molecules, but there was evidence that showed this was a normal chemical practice, and the food industry, it was aware of it.
Oh, yeah.
Big
They
business
could
is
change
aware of
the
a lot of
oil.
things.
They could use a better quality oil, but that would cost them more money and they'd have less profit. So they use the cheapest oil possible, and the cheaper the oil, the more likely the contaminants in it will get caught in your body. That's why part of my health answers is cold pressed everything. I have a deep fryer. I use cold pressed virgin olive oil in it. I deep fry everything in one day and then I throw it out, because if you save the oil, the olive oil you deep fried in, it becomes rancid after it cools off, and now it's a health hazard. So when I want to deep fry, I get $28 worth of olive oil, and I feed my family for the day wonderful deep fried food, and I throw it out. Because if I'm going to deep fry, I want to use the best possible quality oil, and don't turn it above 130 degrees, because that'll also break it. But if you want to deep fry healthy, go out and get first pressed virgin olive oil and put it in your deep fryer and enjoy it. It won't change the
Well,
taste
the other,
much, but it's great.
I'm going to jump in here and I would just say get rid of deep fry. I mean, the food's just absorbing the fat. So I feel strongly on that one.
Well, and we all draw a line somewhere. I used to deep fry every day at lunch, 5 days a week. When I came into the restaurant, I would go to the cooler, and we always bought our stuff in case slots, so there was like 40 portions in a case. But there was always one or two small ones in every case. So we had a 1 liter container in the fridge, and any oddball sized ones or things that were way too big or way too small ended up in a staff bucket. So Michael would sit down to 4 or 5 pieces of deep fried food with packaged sauces, and that would be his lunch. It's part of the reason why he became 300 pounds, and part of the reason he had a heart attack at 47 years old, because I love deep fry. Well, I was smoking, drinking, eating deep fried every single day for 20 years.
Okay. You've used up all your chips, brother.
I have, and that's why I'm so passionate, and why I'm just going to keep talking more and speaking louder about it. I never should have lived, and even if I lived, I never should have found my way back to perfect health. I hated myself when I was so much when I was younger. I tried to kill myself with food. And when that didn't work, I actually thought about how I could kill myself. I was so clinically depressed once, I had it planned. And it hadn't been good advice at the time, timely intervention from somebody I respected, we again would not be having this conversation. We are the sum total of our decisions, and we have a choice every day. You can keep doing what brought you to where you are, or you can change one thing today, keep making that change for 90 days, and see if the result improves. If it doesn't, go back to what you were doing. Sorry, that doesn't work for you. But if it does make a difference, you're obligated to keep doing it for the rest of your life if you know it works. And once you're sure it works, I feel, at least personally, when I figure something that works, I'm obligated to share it with anybody who will listen, whether or not I make money from sharing it or not.
Right.
So please, in the future, the next time somebody you care about complains about a heart health issue, don't just send them to my website. Actually, give them my number and have them call me. I'm much better in person. I have some things that'll work if that's an issue, and it's 25% of the people of everybody we know. But if I don't get to talk to them, I can't help them. I can't explain what I know. I can't explain what their options are. There's dozens of things I know about that could change in some minor way the direction in which they're traveling based on what they're willing to commit to spending on improving themselves. It's like, Peter, with you and your clients, I mean, the hard thing is getting them to figure out that they do have 10% to start saving, right?
Right.
Once they start saving, it gets easier. But until they start saving, and it's important, and they see that there's a way that it's going to benefit them, it's all connected.
Technically, that's the first thing I work on is getting them the discipline of saving, period. 10% scares people.
Yeah.
And it's very, I think it's funny, or the same conversation. It's how do we get you started? Replace your bad habit with a good habit.
But I think that's too, whereas the whole reason we're online here is to spread our message, but the only way we can do that effectively is by giving them information. We can't just sell our products. We can't beat them on the head and say this is what you should be doing. It's just providing them with information so that they then say, right, yeah, I didn't know this person, now I know this person, I know they have my best interests at heart, so I will do whatever they recommend, you know, whether it's saving or trying an Immunical product, or, you know, for Chris and me, it's different things.
Dream catching.
That's right.
Yeah, or dream catching, you know. And we kid ourselves that we live in the information age, so, you know, go along with the joke and providing people with information, at least they won't resist that.
Mm-hmm. But, you know, in your case, I think you're dealing with families, and that family dynamic is always different than talking to a friend or a stranger.
Oh, I'm friends with my strange family.
Me too.
That's good. I think it's a universal truth with all of us in this space. The world is full of the average of the weirdness. There is no such thing as normal. Normal is actually abnormal.
Yeah.
My saying is that normal is a setting on my dryer.
Nicely put.
Well, Michael, I'm going to have to head off shortly.
Yeah, well, we're almost at the hour, so.
I even have a book called that.
I shared what I wanted to share.
Okay.
It's been fun again.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you all for coming again. It is so nice to have people that listen and help me work on the message. It's about saying it clearer and more concisely and more accurately every time you share it. So I'm hoping each one of you will have the same experience when it comes to your turn to share, and you'll just take the time to clearly describe what you do so more people will understand it, and so more people will understand when they meet people you can help what you have to offer.
Michael, I am on your mailing list. Am I getting your message sent via that mailing list, this new message? You talked about sort of getting round now to this, back to your original passion, which is heart health.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I will look, but I believe you are on my Health Answers newsletter, yes. I don't know that you're on the Web Posse list, but I try to send it to both lists. Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, I know I'm on the Health Answers newsletter, but I've not been keeping up with reading it. I'm on a lot of newsletters. You know, I guess this is confession time, but if you're starting a new initiative, I'm asking because I need to know whether I'm on the list, and two, how often the stuff is coming, so that three, I can actually pay attention.
I'm only broadcasting right now twice a week. Once you've got the initial run of newsletters, which is either 12 or 13, it'll just be the once or twice a week you're getting a broadcast. If you'd like to start back at the beginning, I think I can do that. If you're anything like me, I get 100 emails a day sometimes, so they get pushed down and disappear really quickly.
Well, because we've had this discussion, because you mentioned starting an initiative or restarting an initiative, why don't you just set me back to zero,
I will do
and
that.
maybe I can then uh, take my own, take that as being an initiative of my own to drip them on my daughter,
Well,
technically my
that
granddaughter,
makes sense.
because hitting her mother, the 45-year-old who is sort of a heart attack. Well, she's actually going to die before she has the heart attack. But having the child and the father do a pincer movement on the mother slash daughter
Hmm.
might just about.
Well, even if each
I'll
person
try
says
it. I'll
something
try
once,
anything.
even if each person just says once a week, there's
Uh,
3 positive affirmations. We need you to help. We need to help you with this issue, or we need you to address this issue. And sooner or later, it will come to the forefront, but only through repetition. And you just have to keep finding different ways to bring it up. And
yep.
sooner or later, it's like the sales letter. You could try 4 different times, and the 5th time, the key for them was they needed to understand this certain fact, and until you gave it to them, it was irrelevant. That's how
Right.
our minds work, and sometimes it's the 10th thing that trips them. But it's not just the 10th thing; it's the collective
It's the night
adding of the.
before. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, and we're all the answer's there whenever we're ready for it. And that's back to what you said.
True.
It has to be their decision. So you need to work on them, not on them fixing the problem, but them making the decision that it's the next important thing for them to deal with. Then you're free to help them deal with it. Until they tell you it's the next most important thing they want to deal with, you're handicapped.
Right. Yeah. It's
Oh,
let's take that action. Reset me to zero. I'll pay
yep.
better attention and anticipate that. As long as if it doesn't come every day, that's good. When you
But
get
most
100 a
often,
day, everyone's interesting,
most of them are set
but
every third day in the beginning for the first 11 or 12. So you'll
right.
get it, 3 days, 3 days, 3 days, 3 days until the cycle's over.
That's
But
good. I think that's goodness.
well, I've found myself, even when I want to read it, unless it's something I'm going to act on today, I don't deal with it today. So I sort of think, one day for them to get it, one day for them to look at it, one day for them to do something with it. If they haven't, then it's time to give them something new. Obviously, I didn't get their attention.
Right.
And I don't want to be every day because unless I'm talking about multiple things, that gets to be really a drag.
Yeah. Okay, brother.
Thank you
Thank
all,
you.
and have a great week. And thank you for coming back and improving and helping me improve how I communicate today.